another mighty Sabbath. All right, bring out Psalms 133 and one by Bashar. It's a beautiful day to dwell together in unity. This is a beautiful holy convocation that we can gather together, read the scriptures, and get edified through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shai. Psalms 133, verse 1.
Bring it out.
It's the book of Psalms 133 and verse 1. Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity.
It's beautiful to dwell together in unity. Bring out Acts 15 and 31 by Bashar. That's playing upon tables. In a world, we'll probably be gangbanging and rolling dice and playing Xbox and doing God knows what else. But here we are going over the lessons and the laws of God to keep ourselves and our nation out of harm's way. Continue.
Acts 15, 21.
31.
It's the book of Acts, chapter 15, verse 31. Which when they had read, they rejoiced for the consolation. And Judas and Silas being prophets.
So verse 30.
Verse 30. It's the book of Acts, chapter 15, verse 30. And so when they were dismissed, they came to Antioch. And when they had gathered the multitude together, they delivered the epistle. Which when they had read, they rejoiced for the consolation.
Right. So even in the ancient world, when they gathered together and read, they rejoiced. When we gather together and go over lessons, we rejoice because we actually know how to fear God even more. Know what to avoid. Know what not to avoid. Know how to move with discernment and being circumspect in life. Because these laws, statutes, and commandments isn't just, it's plain as you may think it is. It's plain, but it's not like, it's not, it's deep. That's what we're saying. It's pretty deep, right? The Lord actually touches on leprosy in the hair, how to handle that. The Lord touches on boils, flames, dead bodies, how to go about dealing with it should you touch it. So the Lord touches on all these things in the law. And that's what we're going over today. Can you bring out Proverbs 3 and 5?
It's the book of Proverbs chapter 3 and verse 5. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding.
You never want to lean upon your own understanding, chiefly when you read the whole Bible, but importantly when you read the Torah as well, or else all confusion and all hell can break loose. Because this is a very particular matter that we have to deal with. Can you Google the word particular? We have to be very precise and careful on how we carry this word and execute it. You got some camps saying, you can lay down. It is what it is. You got some camps that you can lay down on the Sabbath and kind of be amongst everybody.
That's off.
Yeah, you can't do that. You're unclean. And that's something we still have to uphold as well. There's nothing difficult about upholding these statutes and laws and commandments in Leviticus. There's nothing difficult about it. If your wife, pre-adventure, she may be on her flower, brother, sleep in another bed. Just do it. Just sleep in another bed. It's not too hard. You can't say, well, I got grace. I'm going to lay down with her. Jake just abused grace. Particular.
I'm going to get the noun one right here.
Which one? A detail, right? I like this one. Insisting that something should be correct or suitable in every detail, right? What was the other one you had?
That's just a noun, it's just detail.
On point, specific. You have to be very specific when you keep these commandments. Even the priest, it was specific in the temple. The person kind of had to clean this, the other person had to kind of keep the light going or the fire going constantly. So the Lord is about order and comeliness. Can you bring out 1 Corinthians 14 and 30? It's like 1 Corinthians 14 and 40.
It's the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 14 and verse 40.
You can start verse 33.
Verse 33. For the Most High is not the author of confusion, but of peace, as in all churches of the saints.
Right. So in every church, they had to move in a particular fashion. Right? They had to understand the order. They had to understand the decrees. They had to follow the law, statutes, and commandments. And so the Lord, he's not a man of confusion, where he just forgot to tell Paul something, forgot to do this. The Lord doesn't forget. Bring out 1 Corinthians 14 and 40.
It's the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 14 and verse 40. Let all things be done decently and in order.
And that's what the laws teach us, how to move decently and in order, even when it comes to uncleanness. Whether it be the skin, the flesh, the issues that come out of your body, boils, leprosy in the house, so on and so forth, right? And you have to reflect that. But with that, I yield.
Can I get Sirach chapter 45 and start at 1?
It's the book of Sirach, chapter 45 and verse 1. And he brought out of him a merciful man, which found favor in the sight of all flesh, even Moses.
Right? So this is talking about Moses. The Lord choosing Moses to free and redeem his people out of Egypt, right? Read.
Beloved of the Most High and men.
Right? So Moses was beloved of all men, of the Most High. Right? He gave Moses a certain task, right? Read.
Whose memorial is blessed. He made him like to the glorious saints and magnified him, so that his enemies stood in fear of him.
Right?
By his words he caused the wonders to cease, and he made him glorious in the sight of kings, and gave him a commandment for his people.
He did what?
And gave him a commandment for his people.
Right?
And show him part of his glory.
Right? So he, did the miracles in Egypt by his word. Right? He was glorious in the sight of all kings. He gave him, the Israel, the commandments. And he saw the kingdom. He actually seen the third heaven, Moses. That's what he based the temple off of. So this great man who seen all these things, he was actually given the law to issue out to Israel, right? And get Deuteronomy chapter 4 and verse number 7.
This is the book of Deuteronomy chapter 4 and verse 7. For what nation is there so great, who have the Most High so nigh unto them, as the Lord our power is in all things that we call upon him for?
Right, read.
And what nation is there so great that has statutes and judgments so righteous as all this law which I set before you this day?
Right, so what nation is so great that the Lord gave the law, statutes, and commandments to, man? So these law, statutes, and commandments, these are a great, beautiful thing, man. Right, we love the fact that the Lord gave us the commandments, the law, statutes, and commandments. Right, he didn't give it to every other nation. Let's get Tobit chapter 4, I believe it's 16. Right, the book of Tobit, the 4th chapter. I get Tobit chapter 4, verse 19. Tobit 4 and 19.
It's the book of Tobit chapter 4 and verse 19.
Right?
Bless the Lord thy God always,
Right.
and desire of him that thy ways may be directed, and that all thy paths and counsels may prosper.
Right?
For every nation hath not counsel.
What the Lord say?
But for every nation hath not counsel.
Right, so the Lord said every nation don't have counsel. Every nation don't have that same guidance. Only the Lord will have perfect laws that'll teach you about uncleanness, teach you about skin diseases, teach you about how to operate with your woman when she's on her flower, and all these different things, how to deal with dead bodies, unclean animals. Right, this is all in the law. And it tells you about that. It's a saying in the world, they say cleanliness is next to godliness, man. Why do they say that? Because all throughout the Bible, you read about the priests before they step into the temple, they got to wash themselves, do certain things. Right, so cleanness is a big deal for the Most High, right? You keep reading.
But the Lord himself giveth all good things, and he humbleth whom he will, as he will. Now therefore, my son, remember my commandments, neither let them be put out of thy mind.
You see that? So you got to remember these commandments because the Lord gave them to his people through Moses, a great man. So, the Lord can show his love to us and give us that counsel. Right? So did you have a precept you want to get before we get into it? I know you got one, but
That'll bring it out and go get you.
You can get Deuteronomy 31 and I believe 11.
It's the book of Deuteronomy chapter 31 and verse 11.
We can start at verse 10.
Verse 10. And Moses commanded them, saying, at the end of every 7 years, in the solemnity of the year release, in the Feast of Tabernacles, when all Israel is come to appear before the Lord thy God, in the place which he shall choose, thou shalt read this law before all Israel in their hearing. Gather the people together, men and women and children, and thy stranger that is within thy gates, that they may hear and that they may learn and fear the Lord your God, and observe to do all the words of this law.
So, like the brother said, the priest will go over the law, and it's a commandment for us to go over the law every 7 years. So that's why we going into it. If you want to keep the commandments, you will go over the law. You will read what the scriptures actually say. But you got it.
So like he had one. He was holding. Then you get yours. We can get into it.
I just had two short ones, Baruch 3 and 36, and Psalms 119 and 140.
This book of Baruch, chapter 3, verse 36. He hath found all the way of knowledge, and hath given it to Jacob, his servant, and to Israel, his beloved.
Right, so I just brought that out to let me back off Kabash, bringing out how the Lord gave Israel these laws, statutes, and commandments for us to be a holy nation unto him. So the Lord gave that to Israel, and then Psalms 119 and 140.
It's the book of Psalms, chapter 119. You said 140?
140.
140. And it reads, Thy word is very pure, therefore thy servant loveth it.
Right, and the word of the Lord is pure. Going over these laws of uncleanness is pure. It's how to be a holy people when certain things come about, and the nations don't really know this. They don't really know what's going on when it comes to these things, but the Lord showed that to us, and we as servants, and we love it. We love keeping the laws. We love his word.
Acts chapter 17, verse 1 through 2.
Like,
It's the book of Acts, chapter 17, and verse 1. Now when they had passed through Amphipolis and Apollonia, they came to Thessalonica, where there was a synagogue of the Jews. And Paul, as his manner was, went in unto them, and 3 Sabbath days reasoned with them out of the scriptures.
So Paul's manner was, to go into the scriptures every Sabbath and reason with the Jews.
So, we finna reason with the Jews and Israelites right now. Right? Get Leviticus 15 and 1.
The book of Leviticus, chapter 15, and verse 1.
Right?
And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, When any man hath a running issue out of his flesh, because of his issue, he is unclean.
Right, so the Lord said, if any man have a running issue out of his flesh, because of that issue, he is unclean. Now, I got the blue letter popped up, so we can look into this word issue, see what this is going into. Right? So let's look up issue. Right, it's Strong's H 2100. Issue is just going into flow, gush, issue, or discharge. That's what that is going into. A discharge. Or an issue. Now, what is that talking about? An issue coming out of man. What is that going into? What is a discharge coming out of a man? When you understand that, it's talking about things coming out of his privy member. Right? That's what it's talking about. The issue is things coming out of his privy member. Right? His rod, man. That's what it's talking about, right? And, in today's society, right, because I just looked it up right here, Strong's H2101 was going into a flow, issue, discharge, or flux. You got semen or discharge of venereal disease of men, right? So when you check it out and you're looking into if a man have an issue out of his rod and it's not semen, he got an issue, he got a problem, man.
jammed up.
He's kind of jammed up, right? And this is more so for the adults here, this part. So it is what it is. But you got things like chlamydia, right? Gonorrhea, all these different sexually transmitted diseases. Nothing's new under the sun, right? So that's actually top symptoms for those diseases.
So what's that strong?
Right? I'm gonna Google chlamydia symptoms.
What was that strong you wanted to?
And that was the H2101.
That was the second one?
Yeah.
H2121?
It's like an H2101. Salaki. So these are symptoms of one of the most common STDs, chlamydia. You got painful urination. Everyone know that. That's where, Jake said you're burning, right? Vaginal discharge and discharge from the rod right here. So those are, that's how, that's what it's going into. So men in the ancient world, they actually would have, STDs, man. This was actually a thing. So he's unclean due to that issue. And if you keep reading, you will realize there's no time limit on that issue. It's after it's over kind of thing, because you know that would happen. We can actually keep reading. Read verse 3. It's like, what's that?
I had a point too on the first Strong's you went to.
Yeah,
Go
pull it
to
up.
running issue,
Yeah, because this is a running issue. The other one was an issue. This is a running issue. But yeah,
and then when you scroll all the way down to the where is it? I think it's
you want issue or
the Strong's
running?
definition. You click on that. It's showing different on the
On the app, what it say?
Just bring it out.
It say to have a sexual flux. You talking about that?
Nah, it's something right here. Speak on gonorrhea.
Okay, so this is on the actual app. Yep, here it is. It's plain. It says right here. It says a man suffering from gonorrhea. That's literally what it says on the app. We can, Lord willing, we can try to pull this thing up. It got to be on here somewhere. But yeah, I mean that's what it's talking about. You know, it's not talking about you got a cut or you kind of bust the boil and there's blood running. And I was talking about literally you got an STD, man. You kind of burning. That's what it's talking about. So you unclean, right? That's how they handled it in the ancient world.
Should be under this right here.
Yeah, the genius. Where's that at? I can keep scrolling right here. Yeah,
That's it right there.
right. Just to prove all things. It's right here, right? Can't really highlight it, but a man suffering from gonorrhea, right? When you read the Jacinius Hebrew Chaldee lexicon, right? That's how they break it down. You got a precept. You even said up here, of seminal or seminal emission or gonorrhea of males. There you got it.
Get Sirach 23 and 16.
Let me get the mic, Lord willing,
Come
for the audio for that.
on. Sirach 23 and 16.
So book of Sirach, chapter 23 and verse 16. Two sorts of men multiply sin, and the third will bring wrath. A hot mind is as a burning fire. It will never be quenched till it be consumed. A fornicator in the body of his flesh.
A what?
A fornicator in the body of his flesh.
And we know what a fornicator is. Somebody that's going and doing unlawful sexual things. Whether that's sleeping with an animal, sleeping with somebody's wife, or just going around just sleeping with everybody, right? You got it.
Will never cease till
Do what?
will never cease till he hath kindled a fire.
He won't stop until he kindle that fire. Like that STD, man. You know.
Right,
So that's in the scriptures. It's in there. STD is in there. You know.
Verse 17, that's one.
Yeah. Verse 17. All bread is sweet to a whoremonger. He will not leave off till he die.
And some men actually get, sexual diseases to where, they can't live no more.
Yeah.
They die.
Yeah.
It ain't just an issue. Sometimes you got a death note now.
Man.
And then some STDs you can't get rid of.
Yep.
Look at Magic Johnson. You can't get rid of it, man. It's stuck there.
It's stuck.
It's on you, and you can't get it off. It's alright. 23:16. Unless the Lord permit it to be off.
God, so the Lord jam you up. So STDs is in there. Now in chapter 15, we can jump. Yeah, you can, read verse 3.
It's the book of Leviticus chapter 15 and verse 3. And this shall be his uncleanness in his issue, whether his flesh run with his issue or his flesh be stopped from his issue, it is uncleanness.
Right?
Every bed whereon he lieth that hath the issue is unclean, and everything whereon he sitteth shall be unclean.
Right?
And whosoever toucheth his bed shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the evening.
You see that? So he just unclean. Like this man is just an unclean vessel walking the earth, man. When he's dealing with that, man. So STDs, STIs, that's actually in the scriptures. I jump down to verse 19. Or we want verse 16.
Verse 16. And if any man see the compilation go out from him, then he shall wash all his flesh in water, and be unclean until the evening.
Right, seed, a man's seed of copulation that's going into his sperm, right? And that's literally what it's going into, right? That's what the copulation is, right? Keep reading.
And every garment and every skin whereupon his seed of copulation shall be washed with water, and be unclean until the evening.
Right, I mean, that's self-explanatory. Every garment, it kind of, things happen, right? The marriage bed undefiled, things happen, might land in other places, that's unclean. It is what it is, right? Keep reading.
The woman also, with whom man shall lie with seed of copulation, they shall both bathe themselves in water, and be unclean until the evening.
Right, and the woman that you lie with, she's unclean until the evening. Simple, right? That's going into, dealing with your woman. That's why we say, look, you can't deal with your woman on the Sabbath, because now you're making the Sabbath unclean. Right, go get that real quick, Deuteronomy 5 and 6.
It's the book of Deuteronomy chapter 5 and verse 6. I am the Lord thy God, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt from the house of bondage.
It's like in verse 12, that's what I wanted. It's like,
Verse 12. Keep the Sabbath day to sanctify it, as the Lord thy God hath commanded thee.
right, so the Lord said, keep the Sabbath day to sanctify it, as the Lord hath commanded thee. So I'm going to this word, sanctify. Right, that's to concentrate, to prepare, to dedicate, to be holy. Right, and whenever you're dedicating or dealing with being holy, that's going into cleansing yourself, man, to purify yourself. And anytime you understand that's what we did, we'll purify ourselves on the Shabbat. I think that's Maccabees too.
Yeah.
Is that like 2nd Maccabees? Yeah, let's get that.
6:11.
Yeah, 2nd Maccabees, chapter 6. Yep, verse 11.
It's the book of 2 Maccabees chapter 6 and verse 11.
Yeah.
And others that had run together into the caves nearby to keep the Sabbath day secretly, being discovered
That's one.
Yeah, keep reading.
being discovered to Philip, were all burnt together, because they had made a conscience to help themselves for the honor of the most sacred day.
Right, now I'm trying to get where they purified themselves on the Sabbath.
When he went to the city of Odom.
Yeah, that's like 11 or 15, something like that. 2nd Maccabees, it's in 2nd Maccabees, chapter 12 and 38.
Yeah, that's it.
Yep, check this out, right, what they did on the Sabbath. Because again, you gotta sanctify the Sabbath, right? You gotta consecrate and dedicate the Sabbath, make it holy, right? Bring it up.
This is the book of 2 Maccabees chapter 12 and verse 38.
Right?
So Judas gathers his host and came into the city of Odollam.
Right?
And when the 7th day came, they purified themselves.
They did what?
They purified themselves.
What does that mean? They cleansed themselves on the 7th day. So why would you have sex on the 7th day and make yourself, you make yourself unclean. That's not being purified.
Keep the following Sabbath.
Right, keep reading.
As the custom was.
As the customs was. Get Leviticus 19 and 3.
Custom.
Right? That was the custom. What custom is that? Sanctifying the scripture. Sanctifying the Sabbath. Cleansing yourself on the 7th day. Bring it up.
It's the book of Leviticus chapter 19 verse 3.
Right?
Ye shall fear every man his mother and his father.
Right?
And keep my Sabbath.
And do what?
And keep my Sabbath.
So you gotta keep the Sabbath day. No sex on the Sabbath, man. Don't listen to man's words. And we reading the Bible, man. Right? They sanctified themselves on the Sabbath. They purified themselves because they didn't want to be unclean. That's simple. That's plain. That's what it means to purify yourself. Cleanse your body. Right? Brothers got precept.
Bring it up. Go to Deuteronomy 23 and 10.
It's the book of Deuteronomy chapter 23 and verse 10.
Madness.
And if there be among you any man that is not clean by reason of uncleanliness, that chanceth him by night, then he shall go abroad out of the camp, and he shall not come within the camp.
Right, so when you is unclean, you can't come within the camp, but according to Leviticus 23 and 1, the Shabbat is a holy convocation, we gotta gather together. So you purposely breaking that commandment when you make yourself unclean and you can't congregate how you supposed to on the Shabbat. And then when you drop down to verse 14, it tell you that the Lord is in the midst of the camp, so you can't be unclean in the midst of the camp.
All right, great precept. Great point.
So when you doing that on the Shabbat, like you're going off, you're kind of saying, I don't care that the Lord in the camp, I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do, bye, I'm out of here. But no, the Lord said come together on the Shabbat. be clean, be holy, because I'm in the midst of the camp and congregate on the Shabbat.
If you're going out your way to not keep the Sabbath, then that's, for your own pleasure, that's the circumstances of pleasure in Isaiah 58.
Exactly.
Going out your way to do your own thing to where you can't really keep this Shabbat holy.
And I got another precept
I
real
want to
quick.
clarify something.
Yeah.
And that's whether that's on a Day of Atonement or a regular Sabbath. You still can't do it.
Nah, I mean,
By the way-
it's talking about, they said the seventh day they purified themselves. So it's not the damn Day of Atonement. Right?
Either way, you can't do it. No, whether it's the Day of Atonement,
New moon.
Feast
the
day.
new moon,
It don't matter.
Feast of Tabernacles.
Can't.
Any of those holy convocations that, can't be doing those things.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why, like that first and eighth day of the Feast of Tabernacles.
What's that, Matthew 18 and 15, the Lord is in the midst of you, when two or three are gathered together.
I got a precept. Get up 1 Samuel chapter 21. Chapter 21 and verse number 4. Let's get the point.
So the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 21, verse 4.
Right?
And the priest answered David and said, there is no common bread under my hand.
Right, he had the shewbread in his hand. David is trying to eat the shewbread, holy bread, right, on the Sabbath. Right, read?
But there is hallowed bread, if the young men have kept themselves at least from woman.
He said if the young man kept themselves from women, then they can get it because they're clean, they're purified, and they're able to actually eat of this holy bread. So how much more deal with the holy consecrated Sabbath, right?
Second Maccabees 6 and 11 says the most sacred day.
Yeah, the most sacred day. So it's a set apart day, man. So no sex on the Sabbath. That'd be unclean.
So the priest
So
going into the temple unclean, that would get put to death.
That's madness. So let's go back to Leviticus 15 and touch on this last part. 15. Oh, you had a point?
that's
Yeah, you got it. On this, yeah, go ahead, bring it up. We got
get Deuteronomy 5 and 12.
It's the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 5, and verse 12. Keep the Sabbath day to sanctify it.
To what?
To sanctify it.
To do what you want to do.
To sanctify it.
No, to be unclean.
To sanctify it.
To sanctify the Sabbath. Let's continue.
As the Lord thy God hath commanded thee.
That's a commandment. How do you sanctify it if it's like any other day? Let's go to Nehemiah 13 and verse 22. And I got one more.
It's the book of Nehemiah, chapter 13, say verse 22.
22, yeah.
Verse 22.
Nehemiah 13 and 22.
And I commanded the Levites that they should cleanse themselves, and that they should come and keep the gates to sanctify the Sabbath
To
day.
what?
To sanctify the Sabbath
To
day.
what?
To sanctify the Sabbath day.
Huh?
Remember me,
It's plain.
O my God, concerning this also, and spare me, according to the greatness of thy mercy.
And I got one last one.
What was that?
Exodus
What was that?
19.
13 to 22.
Exodus 19 and verse. Start at verse.
It's a good one.
19
That was a good one.
and verse 14. Exodus 19 and
It's the
14.
book of Exodus, chapter 19, verse 14. And Moses went down from the mount unto the people, and sanctified the people, and they washed their clothes.
No, they didn't do that.
And they washed their clothes.
Why they had to wash their clothes? Because they was come before the Lord. On the Sabbath day, it's the Lord's day. We come before the Lord, present ourselves before Him. Right? You got it.
And he said unto the people, be ready against the third day, and come not at your wives.
And what?
And come not at your wives.
Why did Moses say that? Because you're not supposed to do that.
Exodus 19:14.
Wow, see that? So don't believe man, because man, this is what man that say, man that say, it's not a sin to be unclean. But we're talking about particularly the Shabbat, seventh day, Day of Atonement, certain feast days, Sabbath days. You can't just do what you want to do, man.
Freak off.
Right, so don't believe the hype, don't believe man's words. Just believe the precepts.
Can't be defiled coming.
Right, I mean, it's pretty plain. It said, don't come at your wives, be sanctified. It's not, wash your clothes. It's not that deep. So let's go back to Leviticus 15 and 19. It's pretty plain. Yeah, that was good.
The book of Leviticus, chapter 15, verse 19.
Right?
And if a woman have an issue, and her issue in her flesh be blood.
Right, so here he is. This word issue, a discharge coming out your private area. What's a discharge for a woman of blood coming out her private area? That's talking about her menstrual cycle. The period, the dot, the flower. right? I mean, yeah, that's what this is talking about, right? So this is talking about a woman having her menstrual cycle, right? Bring it up.
She shall be put apart 7 days, and whosoever touches her shall be unclean until the evening.
Right, so she's put apart for 7 days, meaning she should be separated for 7 days, because if you touch her, you're unclean until evening. Now, again, another thing, how the Lord law is so perfect, he says she should be put apart 7 days. I mean, it don't really last longer than 7 days, or unless it's a problem, right? And the Bible clarifies that as you keep reading. That's why the Lord said 7 days. Sometimes it might be 3 days, some people read it might be 5 days, but it's always in between there for the most part. Anybody with a rib or no women can attest to that. Right, so that's the Lord, you know what I mean? That's mighty that the Lord made it 7 days, and he made it like that on purpose, right? Keep reading.
Verse 20. And everything that she lieth upon in her separation shall be unclean, and everything also that she sitteth upon shall be unclean. And whosoever toucheth her bed shall wash his clothes, and bathe himself in water, and shall be unclean until the evening.
So, you know, if you touch her, you lay on her bed, you unclean to the evening. And I wanted to bring this out to say, I looked up how long does the average period last, and it says menstrual bleeding might happen every 21 to 35 days and last 2 to 7 days, right in that range. I mean, so the Lord is mighty, right? It can last 2 to 7 days, but regardless if it's 2 days or 3 days, she's unclean for 7 days, right? So keep reading.
Verse 21. No, verse 22.
Yeah.
And whosoever toucheth anything that she sat upon shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water, and shall be unclean until the evening.
Right.
Verse 23. And if it be on her bed or on anything whereupon she sitteth, when he toucheth it, he shall be unclean until the evening.
Right.
And if any man lie with her at all, and her flowers be upon him, he shall be unclean 7 days, and all the bed whereon he lieth shall be unclean.
Now this isn't saying you just go run red lights, man. You kind of just, you know, do a Bloody Mary, man, and all hell breaking loose. That's not what that's saying. You know why that's there? Because, you know, we're in Babylon now. But guess what? When they dealt with women in the ancient world, you know, they deal with virgins. What happens when you deal with a virgin? Break the hymen, blood gets on you. That's what it's talking about. You know what I mean? So that's what that's pertaining to. You get married, you kind of lay with her, things happen, and that's where you get the tokens of virginity.
That's what they call popping cherry.
Right, what's that? Deuteronomy 21.
Try to be vocal.
Yeah, let's get that. Deuteronomy 22, right? Just to bring that out. Token of virginity, right? Deuteronomy 22 and yeah, it's in the 20s, but I want to get straight to it, kind of. Oh no, that's great right there. It's up. It's yep, 17.
Really starting at 14, 15.
Yeah, I would start at 15. Let's just get to the point. Start at 15.
It's the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 22 and verse
Actually,
15.
let's start at 13. It's the whole roll. Let's get it.
Book of Deuteronomy, chapter 22 and verse 13.
Right.
And if any man take a wife and go in unto her and hate her,
Right.
and give occasions of speech against her, and bring up an evil name upon her, and say, I took this woman, and when I came to her, I found her not a maid.
Right, because that word maid is going into her not having sex. You know, that's why, like, virgin means a woman of marriageable age, but a maid is a woman who hasn't had sex before. So he's saying he's lying with her, but she wasn't a virgin. You know, in today's terms, she wasn't a virgin. Like, nothing happened. Hold on, what's going on? This is defective merchandise for, you know, you might not like that, but that's what it is. Like, hold on, what is going on? I paid for this merchandise, it came broke. That's literally what happened. Right, that's what he's saying happened. Right, but keep reading.
Verse 15. Then shall the father of the damsel and her mother take and bring forth the tokens of the damsel's virginity unto the elders of the city in the gate.
Right, so a token of virginity. A token is a sign of her virginity. Right, keep reading.
It's on the blankets.
God, yeah, let's go say that.
Verse 16. And the damsel's father shall say unto the elders, I gave my daughter unto this man to wife, and he hateth her.
Right.
And lo, he hath given occasions of speech against her, saying, I found not thy daughter a maid, and yet these are the tokens of my daughter's virginity.
He said, these are the tokens of her virginity. And what happened?
and they shall spread the cloth before the elders of the city.
Right, so it's a cloth, right? That's why when you read Tobit, the 7th chapter, they prepared a chamber. That chamber is literally a room. They'll prepare a room. They had the white sheets. And you know, Jay might have some candles lit. You know, they might do their thing, make it nice, flowers. It's nice and smelling good. You finna go in there and lay with your woman.
Read about that in Tobit.
Yeah, they prepared this chamber. And there was a white cloth in there. And they'd take that cloth and take that and stash it. And that's the tokens of your daughter's virginity.
I got a quick
And
point.
Jake might say, hold on, that's weird. Wait a minute. But that's what it is. Because you got Jake, you know, in the world, they upset, like, you got to get your daughter to a man in righteousness. So they actually prepared this, right?
I was just gonna say that show you that our people actually cared about our women purity.
Yeah.
And them being a maid. They actually cared about that. Our ancient forefathers and foremothers, they kept that sign. And even like back in the day, like in the 20s, the 30s, they did that as well.
Yeah.
You read like old writings about that. They used to do that as well. And they still, some nations still.
Not Jake. His daughter 25, and he's like, hold on, man. Don't mess with my baby.
Yeah, that's my baby girl forever.
Come on, brother. Like, you ever to a righteous man.
And then she just appeared pregnant, and you like, well, hold on, what's going on? Because you didn't give her to a righteous man.
Yeah, so, you know, they did their thing in the ancient world. Can you imagine a father in this day and time, he kind of parent for his daughter to get laid down with? That make Jake lose his mind. Like, brother, like, that's the purpose. Like, of life, brother.
Man, she gonna grow up.
She gonna grow up, brother.
You mind pulling this up?
What's this?
This is a cold cut, the tokens of virginity. Because they actually did this in the East, and they celebrated.
They kind of got the, you know, Jake got hype about it.
Mm-hmm. Brother's like, yeah.
This one, man. You know, Jake was turned up about it. They had a whole feast. See that? They happy, man.
Look at that. See, they came out the room, they kind of got the sign, they're with the husband and the wife. You got the mom kind of dancing. Yeah, there it is.
She waiting in there.
Now in the West, it's weird. You're going to be looked at like a pervert, a weirdo, right? But this is our culture. This is our custom. That's what we did in the ancient world. If you don't like it, I mean, you don't like your culture.
You know, it's a beautiful thing.
You gotta get your mind out of Western society and what they taught you. That's why I say you have to be taught
All over again.
You have to subdue your own understanding. What you think is wrong, what you think is weird, what you think is folly, and understand this is how it was done. She's literally dancing. You don't think they was dancing in the ancient world? They had music going. They had a feast afterwards.
Right.
They ate and was merry and was full of mirth. Because this is a sign of purity.
Now it's like, who is this nigga?
Yeah, now you don't know what's going on.
Yeah,
You don't know who your daughter dealing with. You don't know nothing, man.
You don't know what's going on.
You ain't had that
You say
conversation.
boys only want one thing, girl, and you ain't teaching her nothing.
Because you ain't
That's
having
it.
that conversation. Like,
Now she's sneaking out and
eventually you're gonna want a man, and a man is gonna want a woman. You gotta sit your children down and tell them that. So they won't just be out here lost.
because they got hormones.
Yeah.
They gonna start looking and say, dang,
less than.
I like this guy. They ain't gonna know how to go about it.
Now
My
they
dad
sneaking
gonna
behind your
trip.
back.
My dad gonna kill me if I like a guy. Like,
Mhm.
what? Like, you mad because she likes somebody? Like, bro, she 16, brother. Like,
Being a hypocrite, man.
I got a quick precept.
25, brother. Like,
20.
she 30. Take me tripping, man.
So right, 22 and 3, just to land me back off of this. Because it all ties together. It all ties together.
It's the book of Sirach, chapter 22 and verse 3. An evil nurtured son is a dishonor of his father that begat him, and a foolish daughter is born to his loss.
Right, a foolish daughter. Now, the daughter could be foolish for two reasons. Maybe he taught her and she was still foolish, or she become foolish because the father didn't teach her. Straight up. And that's why he's wondering what happened, where did I go wrong? You only told her that God's one thing and that's it. You didn't kind of guide her, you didn't tell her how to, about courting, tell him to speak to my father. You didn't say none of that. Just that one thing. And you didn't give that Lauryn Hill song. Just remember that. They only want that one thing, baby. I would love you more than them. And that's it. You got it.
verse 4?
Yeah.
Verse 4. A wise daughter shall bring an inheritance to her husband, but she that liveth dishonestly is her father's heaviness.
And then she starts to live dishonestly because she started liking that dude and lusting. She don't want to tell nobody. She can't tell her husband. Or it's like she can't tell her father. And she just freak off into the night. God knows where. Into the next state. And then she come back. Dad, I got something to tell you. What? What's going on? She kind of got her head down. Dad, I don't know how to tell you. What, baby girl? I'm pregnant. What? How'd it happen?
Who did this to you?
Who did
Let's
this?
get him.
What's his name? And he looking for his gun, and he mad, and the daughter's like, no, I love him. That's out of order.
Yeah.
And all the whole time you didn't say nothing to your daughter. You didn't rebuke your daughter. You didn't get on her. I raised you better than this. Because you didn't. So let's get Sirach 42, the real quick, 42 in verse 42 and verse 9.
The book of Sirach, chapter 42 and verse 9. The father waketh for the daughter when no man knoweth, and the care for her taketh away sleep. When she is young, lest she pass away the flower of her age. And being married, lest she should be hated. In her virginity, lest she should be defiled, and gotten with child in her father's house. And having an husband, lest she should misbehave herself. And when she is married, lest she should be barren.
And the scriptures literally tell you about situations like that where a father, you know, it's natural in the father to care about his daughters, you know, but you got to do it the right way. And say a righteous man will marry off his daughter, you know. You don't just let your children be led in a life they don't know. They lost. They don't know what's going on. So you let your children know what's going on, you know. Lest she come out of nowhere, like the scriptures say, and be gotten with child. And it's a shame. You know?
Yeah, because that's a shame, man. You know, in the ancient world, things are supposed to be done in order. She's pregnant in your house, it's off. She's supposed to be married off to a man and you give her off, and it's supposed to be ordered. But that's why they arrange marriages, because when you just look at it, just look at the track, let's look at the track of women or the track record on women, and they picking a man. They never can pick a man. They don't know how to pick a man. So it's like, who know how to pick a man better than your father?
Literally.
But if he picks somebody, she gonna think, he lame, or they ain't what she wants, so-called. But women, you can't always get what you want, man. You gotta get what you need. You know what I mean? That's why it's good to marry off your daughters.
Sirach 7 and 24 through 25.
That's why it's so important for the father to be in the life. And I think it was an episode like that on either My Wife and Kids or another show where the daughter was pregnant and the dad always wanted to hurt the man. It's folly. And he's just out of the loop. It's because you're not raising your daughter right. A father should never be at the loop. You know, in this case. Yeah, what you got?
It's the book of Sirach, chapter 7, verse 24. Hast thou daughters? Have care of their body, and show not thyself cheerful toward them. Marry thy daughter, so shalt thou have performed a weighty matter, but give her to a man of understanding.
It's not talking about marrying your daughter. Just marry her off. Right? You gotta marry her off to someone else. In case there's confusion, just married daughter, huh? No, just that's against the law, literally. Find her a righteous man. Because as the brother stated eloquently, Eve's not gonna do it. That's just not happening. They're gonna look at the height, how big their beard is, if they got 144 fringes, if they got a big ass car and a mansion, and if he like the same colors as her,
If he got status.
he got all the highest status. You know, he got 2 dogs and exotic animals.
Yeah.
He got
They base it off of
rings.
looks too.
Yeah.
They're not looking at like, is he able to provide? Is he a good man? Does he keep the commandments? That's all they care about.
Can I get one more? It's like in the year with Sirach 11 and Ecclesiastes 11 and 3.
It's the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 11 and verse 3. If the clouds be full of rain.
It's like this Sirach 11 and 3.
It's the book of Sirach, chapter 11 and verse 3.
Verse 2.
Verse 2. Commend not a man for his beauty, neither abhor a man for his outward appearance.
All right, let's play upon tables. Oh, he looks good. And I want to marry him.
It was a movie like that. A woman, she committed adultery because the man had money. She ended up getting a STD.
Oh, that Tyler Perry movie?
Yeah, Tyler Perry movie.
Which one was that?
I forgot the movie. But
Yeah,
then,
that was a good one.
then the husband, he got a find him a new wife, and she wanted him back and whatnot.
I know what you're talking about. I know that movie.
She was jammed up. She got an incurable disease.
Yeah, she was cocky at the table too.
Alright, the next level.
Yeah. It all tied together.
Go back to Leviticus 15. Yeah, back to Leviticus 15.
Let's go.
Leviticus 15 and 25.
So book of Leviticus chapter 15 verse 25. And if a woman have an issue of her blood many days out of the time of her separation, or if it run behind the time of her separation, all the days of her issue of her uncleanliness shall be as the days of her separation, she shall be unclean.
Right, so this is going into if it run past the 7 days. Like you had the one woman, she was bleeding for 12 years,
Luke 8.
right? And Luke, right? So a woman could bleed past there, but she's unclean every single day. And when you continue to read, she has to count 7 days after she's clean. So if she bleed for 14 days, at that 14th day when it ends, she got to count 7 days and be clean. Right, because that's a whole nother issue at that point. You bleeding that long. There's something going on with that.
Yeah. They had Esau, they put a certain term on these so-called medical conditions. But nevertheless, you had it in the ancient world. But it just wasn't given in terms that we have now today. So they call it today, I don't know how to say that. How do you say this? Menorrhagia is a heavy, prolonged menstrual bleeding. It is a common problem in women. It is caused by hormone problems with the uterus, or other health conditions. Menorrhagia, is diagnosed with a pelvic exam, ultrasound, or pap test. But nevertheless, that's it's uncleanness. And we want to specify being unclean in itself isn't really a sin. It's not like you're a wicked man. You're not going to make it to the kingdom. You're just unclean. That's all.
You just gotta wash yourself, follow the ordinances, that's all. Now, point.
Just I had a question. When you sleep, it wasn't a judgment for sleeping with a woman on her period like that, according to Leviticus 20.
Yeah, you can pull it. God, it was in Exodus.
It's the book of, you want to pull it, read it?
Yeah, you can bring it up.
It's the book of Leviticus chapter 20 and verse 18. And if a man shall lie with a woman having her sickness, and shall uncover her nakedness, he had discovered her fountain, and she have uncovered the fountain of her blood, and both of them shall be cut off from among their people.
Right, so that's just disgusting. So again, that flower upon them is going into the tokens of virginity, not just running a red light. She on her flower and you say, F it. And all hell break loose.
It is what it is.
Yeah, You know what I mean?
I'm gonna get mine spirit.
Jake say the only thing that stop a period is a sentence or some folly.
Yeah, that's
That kind of matters. So let's get Numbers chapter 19 and 11.
down.
Some more. Yeah. So
The judgment.
so let's get Numbers 19 and 11.
It's the book of Numbers chapter 19 verse
It's like I wanted to touch on that. So that's the STDs and going into sex. When you have sex and semen comes out, everything it lands on is unclean. She's unclean, you're unclean. And of course the menstrual cycle. Right, so that's what Leviticus 15 is going into. So now we're going to go into another uncleanness, right? Bring it up.
It's the book of Numbers chapter 19 verse 11. He that touches the dead body of any man shall be unclean 7 days.
Somebody had to deal with a dead body. So again, it's not a sin to be unclean, but you got to understand these laws. Right, you had a funeral or whatever, touch a dead body, you unclean 7 days. Right, bring it up.
Verse 12, he shall purify himself with it on the 3rd day, and on the 7th day he shall be clean. But if he purify not himself the 3rd day, then the 7th day he shall not be clean.
Right, keep reading.
Whosoever toucheth the dead body of any man that is dead, and purifieth not himself, defileth the tabernacle of the Lord, and that soul shall be cut off from Israel, because the water of separation was not sprinkled upon him. He shall be unclean, his uncleanliness is yet upon him.
You're gonna be permanently unclean. Right, bring it up.
This is the law when a man dieth in a tent, and all that come into the tent, and all that is in the tent shall be unclean 7 days.
Right, so if someone dies in the tent, everybody in that tent, everybody in that house is unclean for 7 days. Right? Anybody that's in that house, they unclean 7 days. Right? Keep reading.
Verse 15, and every open vessel which hath no covering bound upon it is unclean.
Right, so if someone dies in the house, you got open water bottles, different things, all that is unclean. Just from the spirit of death being in the air.
They call that rigor mortis.
Right, keep reading.
And it's they release like certain
Oh, yeah.
chemicals and things when you dead, toxins when you die.
Yeah, certain gas gets expelled, whether it be through the whatever orifice, it gets expelled, and it's nasty. It's foul. It's dirty. You know. Again, they're not a sin. It's just like it's unclean. And why would you want that, laying around or anything of that nature? That's why, when you give up the ghost, or whoever may give up the ghost, they have to be buried immediately. That's what Amalek do. They had a funeral the next day. But of course, they took that from us.
Exactly. So this is dealing with the dead body. So everything, like you said, see, I didn't even know that. That's a good thing to know. How, the Lord even put the science to it. This is unclean because, like I said, the chemicals get released. So everything open in that house is unclean. Right? Can't do that. Right? Keep reading.
Verse 16, and whosoever toucheth one that is slain with a sword in the open fields, or a dead body, or born of a man, or a bone of a man's locket, or a grave, shall be unclean 7 days.
Are you touching the bones of a man, anything of that nature? You touch a grave, all that, you're unclean 7 days. Right, keep reading.
And for an unclean person, they shall take the ashes of the burnt heifer of the purification for sin, and running water shall be put thereto in a vessel.
Right, so that's pretty much it on that. So these are the laws when you're dealing with a dead body.
Just want to land me back off that. If you go on Google and type in what chemicals get exposed, or what chemicals are released from a dead body, it says, we're going to pull it up, mostly produced by the bacteria during bloating and putrefaction. They are only toxic in extremely large amounts. Other gases include carbon dioxide, methane, and hydrogen sulfide. While dangerous, they are only harmful to humans in large amounts and in confined spaces.
Confined space.
So in that tent, that's why everything in that tent unclean. You gotta toss it out, break it.
It's a certain
A dead body emits a pungent, overpowering odor that is often compared to rotting meat, rotting eggs, and sewage. This smell is caused by the release of chemical compounds during the decomposition, such as, some big words right there, right? That's why even when you read in, Mark the 5th chapter, the man at the in the cemetery, he's amongst dead bodies. Spirits like that. On another level, certain spirits, they like unclean things. They like it. They get off on it. And that's why, when you just woefully be unclean, it's like a spirit on you. It's not good.
Yeah.
Some people like being
It
unclean.
was a spirit on the lady that was unclean for like 12 years. The Lord, she touched the Lord, he got that spirit off her. So everything behind like diseases and things that's not natural, it's a spirit behind that. Even certain sicknesses. It's a spirit, evil spirits behind it. And only the Lord can get them off you.
Can we get that real quick, Bible Sure? Just for the sake of example, Luke the 8th chapter, 38.
It's the book of Luke, chapter 8, and verse 38, and it reads, or 34.
You got it.
And when they that fed them saw that was done, they fled and went and told it in the city and in the country. Then they went out to see what was done, and came to Yahushua, and found the man.
So, yeah, you got it.
out of whom the devils were departed, sitting at the feet of Yahushua, clothed and in his right mind, and they were afraid. They also which saw it told them by what means that he was possessed of the devils was healed. Then the whole multitude of the country of the Gadarenes,
Where you at?
37.
You can jump to 41.
Okay. Book of Luke, chapter 8, verse 41. And behold, there came a man named Jairus, and he was a ruler of the synagogue, and he fell down at Yahushua's feet and besought him that he would come into his house. For he had an only daughter about 12 years of age, and she lay a dying. But as he went, the people thronged him. And the woman having an issue of blood 12 years, which had spent all her living upon physicians, neither could be healed of any.
Right, that's that Minorita, right? When you continually having that bleeding, and she couldn't be healed. Go ahead.
And Yahushua said, Who touched me? When all denied, Peter and they that were with him said, Master, the multitude thronged thee and paraded thee, and sayest thou, Who touched me? And Yahweh,
There's so many people out, the disciples like, Lord, there's so many people. Why are you asking us? Right? Go ahead.
and Yahushua said, Somebody hath touched me, for I perceive that virtue is going out of me.
Yeah, you felt it through the spirit. He said, somebody touched me, man. Who did it? Go ahead.
And when the woman saw that she was not hid, she came trembling and falling down before him. She declared unto him before all the people for what cause she had touched him, and how she was healed immediately.
And that spirit eventually just jumped off her when he touched her. When she touched him. Go ahead.
And he said unto her, Daughter, be of good comfort. Thy faith hath made thee whole. Go in peace.
That's pretty much it on that.
I got a quick one too. And you could just only imagine all the hell she was catching, because she went to a lot of physicians to get that menstrual cycle for that lasted 12 years off her. But imagine, she probably was cramping a lot, like all through those years, cramping. Probably is bad, man. And that just shows you how much she wanted that off her. That's an example for us. And then also, the man with the spirits in the cemetery, those spirits asked the Lord to go into the swan. That's an unclean animal. So that just show you that the brother said, them spirits, they like unclean things, unclean vessels. You know.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's pretty it on a dead body, so we touch on something else like cleanness.
I mean, bugs and animals. Like, get to
Oh, okay, yeah, we can deal with that. We touched on the dietary law before, but
I think it's 14. If I'm not mistaken.
that's what this
If you eat
is.
one. He said, I'm going to eat
The dead body. Okay. I'm talking about killing Leviticus 11 and what exactly you want Leviticus 11 and probably start at 21.
All right, yeah. Leviticus 11 and 21.
It's the book of Leviticus, chapter 11 and verse 21. Yet these may ye eat of every flying, creeping thing that goeth upon all four, which have legs above their feet, to leap withal upon the earth. Even these of them ye may eat, the locust after his kind, and the ball locust after his kind, and the beetle after his kind, and the grasshopper after his kind.
Right, so these are different, basically creatures like with the legs in the back, with the jumping legs, like grasshoppers, crickets, locusts. You can actually eat those bugs. Right, keep reading.
Verse 23, but all other flying, creeping things, which have all 4 feet, shall be an abomination unto you.
Right.
And for these ye shall be unclean. Whosoever toucheth the carcass of them shall be unclean even until the evening.
Until the evening. So if you touch the carcass of these dead bugs, insects, you're unclean. It's going into, like, you kind of see a fly, you just smack it. That'll make you unclean until the evening.
Right. That's what a lot of our people do, especially down south.
They just kind of just slap and just wipe their hands in their pants.
They go about their day. Sick. I was at work. I saw this Christ just did that on the table. He just wiped it on his shirt.
That's
I said, wow, you didn't have to kill it. You really didn't. It was gonna fly away. Word.
Keep reading.
Verse 26. The carcass of every beast would divide the hoof, and is not cloven
I thought he
footed.
was on 25, so like,
All right, verse 25. And whosoever bear aught of the carcass of them shall wash his clothes and be unclean until the evening.
so you gotta watch yourself, man. And you unclean until the evening when you kill these different kind of bugs.
Verse 20.
Right.
Go ahead.
It's like, yeah, point.
No.
You got something else?
So like I was gonna say, when you're dealing with the 4 feet as well, people gotta understand this is transliterated from the Hebrew. And it's talking about all insects, right? That's even when you get a different translation. So I'm gonna get that real quick. Right, Leviticus 11. Leviticus 11. Get that, Lord willing. I thought I had seen that. No, I wasn't there. I listened to this before. It's again a blue letter. Because we understand insects don't have 4 feet, right? I mean, they just simply don't have 4 feet. Yeah.
I don't know how many feet fly.
They got 6.
Yeah, you got 6.
10.
I forgot what I had looked into before, but I get it. So this is basically talking about insects, though. Insects, if you kill them, so it's saying you can eat certain insects like grasshoppers, crickets. Those are actually edible insects you can eat because they got the jumping legs and the 4 legs. But every other creepy thing you can't really deal with, you can't eat. If you touch their carcass, meaning smack it, kill it, then that's you unclean. But it's not. It doesn't say anywhere in the Bible, not to eat a centipede. But you gotta just, not be simple. I mean, it literally is talking about other creeping, crawling things.
Leviticus 11 don't say that?
No, it says 4 feet, but it's talking about insects. At the end of the day, I'm just saying, if Jake kind of see it says all 4, right? But it don't say anything about 8 legs or 1,000 legs or 6 legs. But it's just talking about these different moving, creepy things. That's all it's talking about.
Gotta have discernment.
You can get Leviticus 11:40.
Yeah, this stuff is transliterated, so.
It's the book of Leviticus, chapter 11, and verse 40.
You can stir that.
It's like, I just want to make a point. A lot of words and numbers, they couldn't even translate because the way things was written. So, they might not even was able to see 6 or anything like that. That happens when you read Kings and Chronicles. That's another conversation for another day, though.
Like a four number of completion too.
Yeah, that too. 4 is a number of completion. Great point.
4 corners of the earth.
Yeah, so, can't be simple. It's talking about ants, roaches, whatever. You can't eat it. Can't kill it. You'll be unclean. Simple.
The Jake would be like, oh, don't say.
But what bug got 4 legs? Stop playing,
That's
You'll
how
be
you
like, I start
don't
no
say it,
sense.
Bert Navy.
Yeah.
I hate when Jake be simple like that.
You gotta have
Discernment.
I don't see centipedes.
Said 4. Yeah, 4 is completion, though, so all praise. That's what it's talking about.
Can you grab us Sirach 17 and jump down
Yeah,
to like
the
4?
words, though. That's what you got.
It's the book of Sirach, chapter 17, and verse 4. And put the fear of man upon all flesh, and gave him dominion over beasts and fowls.
Right?
They required the use of the 5 operations of the Lord. And in the 6th place, he imparted them understanding.
Right, so you gotta have an understanding in this thing. You gotta be able to understand and perceive. Go ahead.
And in the 7th, speech, an interpreter of the cogitations thereof. Counsel and a tongue, and eyes, ears, and a heart gave he them to understand.
So you gotta be able to understand this thing. It can't be simple. We go to Leviticus 11 and 30.
It's the book of Leviticus, chapter 11, and verse 30. and the ferret, and the chameleon, and the lizard, and the snail, and the mole. These are unclean to you among all that creep. Whosoever doth touch them when they are dead shall be unclean until the evening.
Right. Go ahead.
Verse 32, and upon whatsoever any of them, when they are dead, doth fall, it shall be unclean, whether it be any vessel of wood, or raiment, or skin, or sack, whatsoever vessel it be, wherein any work is done, must be put into water, and it shall be unclean until the evening. So shall it be cleansed.
So shall it be cleansed. You know, it was one time I was working with my grandfather, and you know, long story short, he ended up killing a squirrel. All right, he killed the squirrel, kind of hanged it by the tail. No gloves, no nothing, just hanged it by the tail. You can't move in that spirit. Peradventure, you know, there may be a time where you have to defend yourself or your family. You know, you should want to do it at least the most proper way possible. All right? Get a shovel and then kind of dip it in the water. Get some gloves. You know, you want to move in order in this thing. There's more in that.
I was at verse 33 now.
Yeah.
Verse 33, and every earthen vessel whereunto any of them falleth, whatsoever in it shall be unclean, and ye shall break it.
You should what?
And ye shall break it.
You gotta break it. If you see a mouse in a cup, in an earthen cup, I will hope you break it, brother. I will hope you wouldn't reuse it. There's no telling what that mouse has been in. There's no telling. It's my favorite cup. It's favorite mug. My mama gave it to me. So white. Yeah, I just put some things on it and pray over it. Ain't no brother. Ain't no praying over that. That's long gone. That's in the grave. Break it and keep it moving. God.
Got a point.
Oh yeah, you can get
Get Sirach chapter 10 and verse 11.
Oh, yeah, mouse in your
It's the book of Sirach, chapter 10, verse 11.
bed, right?
But when a man is dead, he shall inherit creeping
You
things.
shall what?
He shall inherit creeping things, beasts and worms.
So that's why the Lord created a lot of these creeping things for unclean matters. It's like how He created unclean animals to get rid of the garbage of the earth. A lot of these creeping things, they be in the graves. They made for decomposition. Let's be simple. Flies, maggots, worms. A lot of these insects are made for decomposition.
Roly-poly.
Roly-polies.
Like centipedes be underground.
Exactly. So
Spiders, they all be underground.
why do you think you shouldn't just touch their carcass or like the brother said, eat out of a cup that is dead in? And also a lot of these animals, like a squirrel, a wild squirrel, they may have rabies or something. So that's why the Lord really protecting us and saying like, don't touch their dead carcass or whatnot. If you do, wash your hands, whatnot, or you should wear some gloves, whatnot. Just being sensible, So let's get one last one, I think. Ecclesiastes.
Yeah, they say real quick. They say a mole carries Lyme disease. You want Lyme disease in your cup, brother? Pre-adventure, I don't know. Pre-adventure just mean fall in your cup or whatever, an earthen vessel. You really want to just hope that she can wash that Lyme disease away? Good luck, brother.
Ecclesiastes 10:1. Because this is just what a dead flock can do. Imagine what a dead rat can do.
It's the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 10, verse 1. Dead flies cause the ointment of the apothecary to send forth a stinking savor.
To send forth a what?
A stinking savor.
Only a little small dead flock can make the oil just bad. It's bad oil. It's tainted. It's unclean. You gotta throw it away. It's stained now. Right? You got it. I think it's a little wrong.
So doeth a little folly to him that is in reputation for wisdom and honor.
Alright, it only take a little fly to make something unclean or dirty. So do a little folly give you a bad name.
Right.
That's another.
That's right. You get Leviticus 19, like Job 19 and 27.
Oh, you can walk that, 19 and 26.
Yeah, he starts 26.
That's what I was about to hear.
It's the book of Job, chapter 19, and verse 26. And though after my skin worms destroy this body, yet in my flesh shall I see Yahweh.
Right, so Job is just pretty much explaining what happens to a dead body. Right? Worms, they feast on you. It is what it is. Alright? The worms gotta eat. Everything gotta eat.
Yeah.
That's Matthew's chapter. Everything has to eat, and the Lord's gonna provide. Even the crows. The crows, the birds, they're gonna have to feast when Esau is put in the fire. They're gonna have to feast.
Yeah.
That's gonna be like a new moon for them. But
Yeah, the scripture said talk about it too.
Yeah,
About the crows.
that's in Jeremiah.
Let me back off your point. Unclean things used to be unclean reasons.
It's just gonna be a new one.
new moon for them.
Worms do eat your body.
Yeah. See that?
You can go back to Leviticus. You know, I can't find it. I did a cold cut on what happens when a fly lands in your food.
Oh yeah, you did.
Yeah, I can't remember the title exactly.
You gotta throw that food
That was
in.
the title.
Yeah,
literally was
Yeah, it might have been a title.
Ain't no picking around.
Might have been a title.
food fetish.
Yeah, that was done. My brother told me one time, just, cut that piece off. I said, no, brother, it's done, it's gone.
Your brother told me just it was a fly landing in my coat. He said just pour it out a little bit. Just pour it out. I'm like, bro.
It's already in Jake's spirit not to eat. Sounds like above.
Yeah. I was at,
Oh, willing.
Right. A fly? Nah, that's
in the whole plate back at the restaurant.
I was at a coffee joint like a week ago or two, and I was sick. A fly ended up falling in my cup. I said, what? Yeah, it just fell. And I just looked down and said, how the hell that happened? It was an opening, but like still. I looked away for a few minutes and it was just in there, dead. I had to throw it away.
Well, I'm glad that you saw it.
Yeah, I'm glad too. If I drink it, I would have had some words. You got a point.
I got a precept.
fly so nasty, bro.
It's the book of Jeremiah, chapter 6 and verse 16.
You rubbing it.
Thus saith Yahweh, stand ye in the ways and see, and ask for the old paths, where is the good way, and walk therein, and ye shall find rest for your souls.
Who poured that?
Me.
Oh, God. Oh, praise, you gotta find it, rest your soul, man.
That's really going into the whole lesson. The uncleanness of your flesh, uncleanness of the dead bodies, and of the animals.
Oh, this is uncleanness, man. The Lord gave us great laws, man. He told us how to stay clean and healthy. Your health is bad if you just
Eating bugs.
eating bugs
Unclean bugs.
and dealing with, raw flesh or.
Moab kind of eat like insects and like the brother said, anything.
Bat nuggets.
There's a lot of diseases over there in China. There's a lot of diseases. Shoot, that's why we had a whole lockdown because of the COVID.
Yeah, messing with bats.
China.
You can go back to Leviticus real quick. 11 and
What was that, 34?
Folly.
It's the book of Leviticus, chapter 11, verse 34. Of all meat which may be eaten, that on which such water cometh shall be unclean.
Hold on, read that again, Slacky.
Of verse 34. Of all meat which may be eaten, that on which such water cometh shall be unclean. And all drink that may be drunken in, so every such vessel shall be unclean.
Right, so my drink was unclean. I could have just poured it out a little bit like, don't prepare. No, it's finished. Go ahead.
And everything whereupon any part of their carcass falleth shall be unclean, whether it be oven or ranges for pots. They shall be broken down, for they are unclean, and shall be unclean unto you.
Yeah, you just had to break it down. You gotta deal with it. There's no type of, you gotta break it up back in the day. And the oven wasn't like the big one you got now. It was like a little furnace. Right, a little,
I'd like clay.
yeah, out of clay, that's all. You can make another one. You continue.
Yeah, keep reading.
Verse 36. Nevertheless, a fountain or pit wherein where there is plenty of water shall be clean, but that which toucheth their carcass shall be unclean.
Like you had a dead fly or a dead animal in your pool. It's nasty. It's unclean.
Yeah, that's what it's saying. Like, if there's plenty of water, it's clean, but, if you touch it, you are clean. So it's like, a little vessel, of course, but you got a big old, gigantic whale, of water is like, you know.
Yeah.
It is what it is. So that's basically what it's saying. It's not a confined space. Fly can only do so much. I mean, you got a little fly land in your well. Still can get water out of it. You just gotta kind of, you know.
Go through a process of probably boiling or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
It's a my I ain't gonna throw you off, but my uncle, he was in the army, and they learned like a whole bunch of like facts. Like he went to war, Vietnam, all that type of stuff, and they learned like a whole bunch of stuff. And I didn't know if it was true, so I had to look it up for myself as he told me. But when it comes to like lakes and stuff like that, they actually purify themselves every certain amount of centimeters or feet, something like that. They purify themselves.
What does?
The lakes.
The lakes?
Rivers, all that.
Even the natives, they threw copper in the lakes and in the rivers because copper is a cleansing agent. That's why they got that from the so-called wishing well. They got that from the natives.
It's and you could look it up too, cause like I ain't just want to believe my own. I don't teach you anything, but like that's actually some scientific proof.
But that would make sense because the Lord, you got everything that cleanses itself, and you even got animals that cleanse the lakes and rivers. You got oysters and mussels,
Clams.
Rocks even they go to the water.
Yeah.
It's the minerals and stuff that rocks made out of.
Yep.
It's a little information on it. They say flowing water can clean itself.
Sand too.
Physical, chemical, and biological processes are all part of the self-purification ability of water. And then they go into it: dilution, sedimentation, filtering, aeration, are physical processes. So these things are natural. So the Lord code.
Even Esau show you like how to make a natural water purification system out of a water bottle, out of rocks. He put rocks and
Sand and all that.
and you'll get dirty water and you put it in it and you start seeing it being clean. Got that from the Lord.
We did that in school.
Yeah.
The minerals. That's awesome.
That's mighty.
All right.
The Lord is amazing.
Dude.
That's good info right there.
Verse 37. And if any part of the carcass fall upon any sowing seed, which is to be sown, it shall be clean. But if any water be put upon the seed, and any part of the carcass fall thereon, it shall be unclean unto you.
Right.
And if any beast of which ye may eat die, he that toucheth the carcass thereof shall be unclean unto the even.
Go ahead.
And he that eateth of the carcass of it shall wash his clothes and be unclean unto the even.
Yeah, you can't eat something that dieth of itself. Easy kill. That was easy. I mean, that's nasty.
They call it
Roadkill. It says a righteous man, will diligently care for his meat. You might bring that out. I think it's Proverbs 27.
That'd be off, man. You just kind of see a dead deer. They got hit by a bus or something, and you just kind of.
It's time to dig in.
That's all. Flies all on it. Started to decompose already.
Proverbs 27. Yeah, Proverbs 12 and 27.
Possession to eat, bro.
You just rubbing your hands.
easy kid.
All praises.
You have to work.
That's lazy.
That down south stuff, they eat raccoon.
That's my grandfather. He ate raccoons and everything.
Dillo.
Snake,
Easy meat.
possum.
Possum.
Squirrel
Oh my
stew.
God.
You got it. Possum.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 12, and verse 27. The slothful man roasteth not that which he took in hunting.
What is it?
The slothful man roasteth not that which he took in hunting.
Right, so he's not gonna roast it. He ain't gonna cook it. Right, he's just a lazy man. He just eat it where it was. Go ahead.
But the substance of a diligent man is precious.
Right, he's precious because he know how to take care of it, dress it, and make it delicious. You go back to verse 40.
It's the book of Leviticus, chapter 11, verse 40. And he that eateth of the carcass of it shall wash his clothes and be unclean unto the even. He also that beareth the carcass of it shall wash his clothes and shall be unclean unto the even.
But if I'm not mistaken, you can sell it unto the heat in Deuteronomy 14 and 21. You can sell that thing that died of itself and give it to the heat.
Yeah, you
And
can.
he can eat it.
Yeah, that's Exodus 22, verse 2.
Yeah, that's something you can do.
I'm gonna read it real quick. Ye shall not die of anything that It's like ye should not eat of anything that dieth of itself, thou shalt not give it unto the stranger that's within thy gates, right, people, that he may eat it. Or thou mayest sell it unto an alien, for thou art an holy people, right? Even for context, right? Read within context, right? You are a holy people. Who's the holy people? According to Deuteronomy 7:6, Israel. But the heathen, people outside of Israel, people outside the holy people, yeah, they can eat it. Yeah, sell it to them. Yeah. Try
That's
this.
the law that tell them you can't sell it. It say sell it to the heathen.
That wasn't it? I don't think it said sell in Deuteronomy 14. What was the one you said? Exodus?
Exodus 22 and 11.
There's one that say sell it to the heathen.
Yeah, dude.
Y'all should cast
Oh
it.
yeah, I don't think I read it.
Cast it.
Or thou mayest sell it into,
Oh, right there.
yeah, sell it to an alien.
Yeah, that's the one.
You kind of sell it to him. They ask, well,
How did it die? Don't worry about it. Or you just straight up sell them. They probably won't care.
That's how you know the laws ain't for everybody.
Yeah.
they don't care.
Yeah.
Not a precept.
You got it.
Isaiah 65 and verse
10 minutes.
3 through 4. Because my brother was talking about like how it's like
Down south, huh? It's like, the brother's talking about how, down south, our people, they eat anything. The scriptures say we can't eat anything, right? You got it.
Isaiah chapter 65, verse 3.
Start at verse 2.
Verse 2.
Right, the precept.
I have spread out my hands all the day unto rebellious people.
Our people rebellious, they know they're not supposed to eat it. You know you're not supposed to be eating that coon. And they down south, and they think they Esau, they think they like Edomites, and they eat raccoon. They eat squirrels. My great uncle told me we used to eat squirrels too. I grew up on it. I'm like, what are you doing? Right, you got it.
Which walketh in a way that was not good.
It's not good for you to eat creeping things at all, like the brother said. Right, you got it.
After their own thoughts. A people that provoked me to anger continually to my face, that sacrifices in gardens and burneth incense upon altars of brick, which remain among the graves and lodge in the monuments.
And that's off too. Like, I ain't gonna say you can't go visit your family, but they make it a statue. Every year, I'm gonna go to the grave site.
Oh, his
I'm gonna talk
birthday.
to my mama and talk to my daddy. You know, right? You got it.
Which eat swine's flesh, and broth of abominable things in their
And what?
vessels. And broth of abominable things in their vessels.
That's that squirrel stew. That's that seafood boy with the crabs and lobster. The gumbo shrimp. That's off. Right? You got it.
Squirrels.
Which say, stand by thyself, come not near to me, for I am holier than thou. These are a smoke in my nose.
Yeah, they got that holier than thou spirit. Right? That's it, man.
Smoking my nose.
Yeah.
Damn.
Smoking in the nose is irritable.
So you pissed off.
Yeah, you make the Lord angry.
The Lord said he consumed them with it.
He said it's smoking my nose.
It's like having smoke in your face and it start irritating your eye. It's irritating.
The Lord said he consumed them with the nose, with the breath of his nostrils.
Cause it's crazy, cause they know this. A lot of our great aunties and uncles. I talked to my great uncle. His name Dwight. He know he not supposed to be eating that. He know that we're Israelites. Jesus is black. Even my grandma said Moses is black. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a real
Yeah. Dwight. Yeah, that's his name.
She said Moses is black.
Dwight McClendon.
Might be related. You get Psalm 35 and 3.
It's the book of Sirach, chapter 35 and verse 3. To depart from wickedness is a thing pleasing to the Lord.
It's pleasing unto the Lord to keep these commandments.
Right.
You can't just read this and say, it's an option, I got an option. No, brother, you gotta keep it. You have to keep these laws, statutes, commandments. Everything from Genesis to Revelation, you have to keep it.
Right.
Especially, it's the Torah, it's the law. It's not an option, to wash your clothes or not. The Lord said you gotta do it.
For your benefit.
However you can do it, do it. And like brother says, for your benefit. And all that sin, it's like, We can get it. You can see.
And to forsake unrighteousness is a propitiation.
Right. Go ahead.
Verse 4, thou shalt not appear empty before the Lord.
Right. Go ahead.
For all these things are to be done because of the commandment.
So the Lord requires that you fulfill His words.
Right.
That you fulfill what He said do. He's going to ask you in that day, well, what's in your hands? Did you do this? Are your hands clean? Were you capable of executing my laws, statutes, commandments? Or are your works empty and void? You can bring out Revelation 3:1.
It's the book of Revelation, chapter 3, verse 1, and it reads, And unto the angel of the church in Sardis write, These things saith he that hath the 7 spirits of Yahweh, the 7 stars. I know thy works, and thou hast a name that thou livest, and art dead. Be watchful, and strengthen the things which remain.
Right, he told this church, in a contextual level, he told this church to be watchful and strengthen the things which remain. Right, whatever things you're capable of executing in the name of the Lord in righteousness, is strengthened. Whatever you can kind of hold strong. Whether it be your faith, doing a ministry, performing your alms, whatever the case is. I got one more. You can jump to Romans 5:11. You can jump to Romans 5:2.
It's the book of Romans, chapter 5, and verse 2. By whom also we have an access of faith, by faith into his grace, wherein we stand, and rejoice in hope of the glory of Yahweh.
All right. So, we hope and rejoice in Yahweh through his son Yahweh Shah.
Verse 3. And not only so, but we glory in tribulations also, knowing that tribulation worketh patience, and patience experience, and experience hope.
With that, we'll wrap up the Sabbath service. That was the laws of uncleanness. All right, we touched on a lot through the Spirit. All right, bear with me. We touched on, just to give a quick run back, we touched on the discharge, dead bodies, uncleanness in the vessels, right, and many more.
All right.
So with that, Go on,